Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. In the village hidden in the leaves, everyone is going about their day as usual, but for Uzumaki, Naruto today would be anything but ordinary. Naruto runs through the village searching for his longtime crush Sakura. "Where are you, Sakura-chan?" Naruto whispers to himself. Ever since he woke up this morning he's been feeling strange, and whenever he thought of Sakura he had this overwhelming urge to see her, and despite him trying to suppress it he couldn't control it anymore, and that's what brings us to he continues to look around. He's unaware of a person in front of him until he collides with her, knocking them both into the ground. "Hey, watch where you're going." The person Naruto collided with shouts angrily. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, Ino." Naruto apologizes but stops midway when he realizes that the person he collided with was none other than his fellow blonde Yamanaka Ino. "Naruto?" Ino asks, her anger quickly being replaced with both stare into each other's blue eyes before Naruto gets up and offers Ino a hand. "Sorry about that, Ino-chan. I was in a hurry and not really looking where I was going." Naruto apologizes while grinning sheepishly. "Well, obviously," Ino responded, annoyed. She took the offered hand in hers and rose to her feet, but she suddenly froze. She was feeling an odd sensation that was riding up from the hand that is holding Naruto's. "Ino-chan?" Naruto questions as he looks into Inoe's eyes and freezes. The powerful urge he felt before for Sakura is now matched with a powerful urge Ino. Without realizing it, he brings Ino close to himself and wraps his arms around her in an embrace. "Huh?" Ino thinks, confused. She's about to voice her confusion when she and Naruto disappear and reappear in a secluded forest area. Ino looks around her confused and looks back to Naruto, but before she can ask him why he brought her here, Naruto covers her mouth with his. He's kissing me," Ino thinks. Shocked that Naruto would be so bold. She starts feeling the intense passion from the kiss and she's almost overwhelmed by the intensity. "My mind is going blank." Ino's mind begins to get hazy as the kiss continues, unaware that Naruto's thoughts are the same. "What's gotten into me?" When looked into Ino-chan's eyes, I had a strong urge to make her mine. Naruto thinks. He then feels a pair of arms wrap around his waist, and then he feels an intense passion flowing into him from Ino. "Ino-chan." His eyes start to close as the lip lock progresses. Feeling a little bold, he runs his tongue across Ino's lower lip, asking for permission to enter her mouth. Ino quickly obliques as she opens her mouth, and Naruto's tongue darts inside, meeting hers, and they fight for dominance. As their kissing gets more intense, they didn't notice red chakra emerging from Naruto's body and begins to cover both of them. But due to a lack of air, they both regrettably part, leaving a thin trail of saliva between their mouths. "Oh God," Ino thinks to herself as she's gasping for air. Her first kiss was unlike anything she had ever imagined. She had always dreamed that her first kiss would be with Sasuke, but Naruto of all people had stolen her first kiss, and if she was honest with herself, she wanted to kiss him again as soon as they caught their breath. "Amazing. Ino-chan." Naruto breathes out her name as they stare into each other's eyes with a look of euphoria, still unaware of the red chakra surrounding them. Naruto leans his head down and nuzzles Ino's neck. "Naruto-kun." Ino moans his name, not realizing the honorific she added to his name. Naruto responds by nuzzling more into her neck, then licking a spot between her neck and collarbone. "Ino-chan, you're mine forever." Naruto whispers to her before he bites down on the spot he licked and sinks his enlarged canines into her. Ino cringes in pain as she feels his fangs pierce her skin, but the pain quickly fades as it is replaced with pleasure. Naruto removes his canines from her neck. The red chakra surrounding them begins to flare up as a symbol of two blonde foxes facing each other with their heads bowed and foreheads touching and tails intertwined appears on the spot he bite, with the Uzumaki clan symbol between them. "Naruto-kun." Ino says his name as her pale blue eyes become silted like a fox's. Her canines become enlarged and she bites down onto Naruto's neck like he did to her. Naruto groans a bit as Ino pulls back. The same symbol that is on her neck appears on his as well. Now you're mine as well. I wouldn't have it any other way. Naruto tells her while smiling. Ino suddenly feels another odd sensation as her body starts getting hotter and her body begins changing. Ino's hips widen, stretching her purple skirt, her waistline becomes slimmer and her S start growing, going from AC cup to AD cup. Ino's body, which was already hot before, now rivals that of Hinata. What the hell? Ino shouts as she runs her hands down the sides of her body, feeling every curve of her enhanced features. I love what you've done with yourself. Naruto tells her with a smirk. Ino looks at Naruto and smirks. She walks to him and puts her hands on his chest. I'm glad you think so, especially since you'll get to see and feel them personally during our matting. Naruto wraps his arms around her and leans his forehead against hers. How about later tonight I'll come find you and take you back to my place? Ino lifts her head and kisses him passionately. I'm looking forward to it, she replies as she licks her lips seductively. The red chakra that's surrounding them flares and they disappear and reappear in an alley. See you tonight, my vixen. Naruto whispers in Ino's ear, causing her to shudder. He kisses her forehead and starts walking away. Ino stands there in a daze before raising her right hand and placing it on top of her neck where her mark is. I'm Naruto-kun's vixen. Ino whispers to herself as a small smile spreads across her lips and her eyes become slits briefly before turning back to normal. She then hurries home to prepare for tonight. Meanwhile, Naruto continues his search for Sakura. After marking Ino as his mate, he feels assured now that no other male will try to claim her, and even if someone dares try, the mark on Ino's neck will alert him and he'll immediately appear between Ino and the male who dares try to make a claim on someone else's mate. He'll then show that unfortunate male why Ino's off limits the hard way. I can't believe what happened with Ino-chan earlier. Naruto thinks to himself as he places his right hand on his neck where Ino marked him. And what's with this mark? I know I gave Ino-chan one just like this one, but what is this mark and how was Ino-chan able to give me one? He suddenly stops and unconsciously sniffs the air. Something smells good, Naruto thinks. Without realizing it, his body begins to move toward the direction of the scent, which leads him to a training area where he spots someone practicing their techniques on a few training dummies. Hey, isn't that? Naruto trails off as he watches the person rear back and then swinging a large fan in front of her. Wind Scythe Jutsu. The unknown person is Temari, the older sister of the Kazekage. Gaara unleashes a powerful gust of wind that slices the training dummies to pieces. She brings her fan behind her with the grace of a dancer and analyzes the damage her jutsu caused. Satisfied with the results, she folds her fan and places it securely on her back. Naruto is in awe. He's seen her wind-style jutsus before, but that was during battle and never got a chance to stop and really appreciate it. But now that he did have a chance to see it, he is impressed at the power of her attack and how Temari looks with the wind blowing her hair gently and the sun hitting her just right, making her glow. Beautiful. Naruto couldn't help but say aloud, startling Temari. She quickly turned around and saw Naruto looking at her with adoration and, to her surprise, desire for her. How long have you been watching? Temari demanded, her face red with embarrassment. Naruto steps up to her and scratches the back of his head. From the start of your attack. Sorry, I didn't mean to spy on you or anything. Naruto responds while grinning. He then smells that wonderful scent and realizes that it's coming from Temari. You smell good, Naruto says without thinking and causes Temari to take a step back in shock. What? Temari says, shocked. She wasn't expecting Naruto to say something like that to her. You were amazing out there, Temari-chan. The way you handled your fan, it was almost as if you were dancing. Naruto complimented. Temari blushed at the compliment and at the addition of Chan to her name. Thank you. Naruto steps closer to Temari. Hey Temari-chan. Why yeah. Temari responds nervously. Do you think you can teach me some of your wind jutsus? Unless it's a village jutsu and you can't teach it to outsiders. Naruto asks. He stares into Temari's eyes and she couldn't help but get lost in them. Of course it's no trouble, I would love to teach you. Temari tells him, still looking deep into his eyes. Glad to hear that. Naruto responds as he cups Temari's left cheek. He stares deep into her eyes, penetrating into her soul. You have such beautiful eyes, Temari-chan. Temari blushes even redder as Naruto compliment her yet again. She starts feeling hot and her breathing starts getting ragged. Why am I being affected so much from his compliment? Temari thinks to herself. As she was in an inner turmoil, she didn't notice Naruto leaning his head down and capturing her lips in a passionate, eyes widen in shock. She feels the passion from the kiss flowing into her. Naruto brings his arms around Temari's waist, bringing her closer to him. Temari remains still as he continues to kiss her. Does this mean? Temari's thinking trails off as she brings her arms up and wraps them around Naruto's neck and kisses him back fiercely. She licks his lower lip asking for entrance, which he immediately obliges. She darts her tongue inside, meeting his, and their tongues fight for dominance. As this is happening, red chakra emerges from Naruto again and covers both of them. Temari-chan, Naruto thinks as he breaks the kiss and trails kisses down Temari's neck. Temari moans and buries her fingers in his hair. You're now mine forever. Naruto whispers to her and bites down on her neck, marking Temari as his mate. Naruto-kun. Temari screams his name, her eyes become slitted and she bites down on his neck with her enlarged canines. When they withdraw, a symbol of two foxes, one golden blonde, the other sandy blonde, with their foreheads leaned against the other's forehead, their tails intertwined, and the Uzumaki clan symbol between them appears on Temari's neck. Naruto's mark changes to a golden blonde fox sitting and two vixens sitting beside, with a sandy blonde vixen to his left and a platinum blonde vixen to his right. Both vixens are rubbing their cheeks against the golden blonde fox in the middle, their tails intertwining below them and the Uzumaki clan symbol above their heads. Temari-chan. Naruto whispers her name. The red chakra surrounding them starts to flare as Temari's body starts changing. Like Ino, her S increase in size, her hips widen and waistline gets slimmer. The hell? Temari says, surprised as she feels her chest. Her S are now a D cup and straining against her bra and battle kimono. They're as big as that Hyuga girl now. Temari thinks to herself. She suddenly feels Naruto's arms wrap around her and his hands groping her. I like what I see. Naruto tells her. He gives her a foxy grin and Temari smiles seductively as she feels something hard pressing against her thigh. I can certainly tell. Temari responds. She rubs the bulge in his pants with her left hand and kisses Naruto passionately. Naruto loosens his right arm around Temari and brings it around to rub between her legs, causing her to moan in the kiss. The red chakra flares wildly around them. Naruto pushes Temari against a nearby tree as they continue to kiss passionately. Naruto places his left hand on her right thigh and starts caressing it. They parted from their liplock, gasping for breath and stare into each other's slitted eyes until Naruto takes a step back. As much as I would like to consummate our mating by taking you here and now, I need to finish doing something first. Naruto tells her, his face flushed. Temari pouted at this, but she understood. Their eyes still slitted, she stands on her toes and licks the whisker marks on his cheeks, causing Naruto to purr. I think I know what it is you're going to do, and as much as I don't like the idea of sharing you with other vixens, as long as you give me love and attention, I can tolerate the others. Temari tells him. Naruto chuckles lightly and caresses Temari's cheek with his right hand. Temari leans into his touch and closes her eyes, savoring the feeling. Naruto gives her one more kiss before he resumes his search. Temari sighs and decides to call it a day and returns to her hotel room. Her mark suddenly starts glowing, and in another part of the village someone else's mark starts glowing as well. So Naruto-kun marked another vixen. No matter, I already have dibs on him first. Ino says to herself as she looks at herself in a full-body mirror. She poses while wearing a lacy black bra and matching panties. As soon as Naruto-kun sees me in this, he won't be able to resist me. We're going to do it like animals. As soon as she finishes saying this, red chakra emerges from her body and surrounds her. Ino hunches over in pain as she feels her body changing again. She increases in height from 5 feet 4 inches to 7 feet 5 inches. Her fingernails and toenails grow into sharp claws. What's happening to me? Ino says in pain as the red chakra recedes into her body. She manages to walk towards her bed and collapses on top of it. Ino isn't the only one undergoing changes. As soon as Temari enters her hotel room, she is surrounded in red chakra and her body changes just like Ino before collapsing on the carpet floor. Meanwhile, Naruto is still searching for Sakura until he sees a patch of pink hair inside a tea shop. When he gets closer, he confirms it's Sakura, who appears to be in conversation with Hinata. He makes his way inside and walks towards their table, both too absorbed in their conversation to notice him until he's standing next to him. Huh. Sakura looks to her right and sees her blonde teammate. Naruto-kun. Hinata says, surprised, her face blushing at her crush being so close to her. They both stare at Naruto, waiting for him to say something, but he remains silent until he reaches into his pocket, pulls out some money and puts it on their table. Naruto, what are you? Sakura was saying, but stops when she sees Naruto's slitted eyes and is shocked when he lifts both her and Hinata onto his shoulders. Baka, what are you doing? Put me down. Sakura tells him, annoyed. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Hinata says, embarrasses at the situation she's been placed in. Naruto has a feral smirk on his lips before red chakra covers all three of them and they disappear only to reappear in Naruto's living room. This is. Sakura starts to say. Naruto-kun's living room. Hinata finishes. Naruto puts them down in front of him and immediately kisses Sakura. Sakura thinks, shocked. She struggles to free herself, but Naruto's grip is too strong. Naruto then licks Sakura's lower lip, causing her to gasp in the kiss. This allowed Naruto access to her mouth and he darts his tongue inside, exploring the inside of her mouth. Sakura slowly succumbs to Naruto's assault on her mouth. She closes her eyes and kisses him back fiercely. She meets Naruto's tongue with her own and they battle for dominance. They soon part, leaving a trail of saliva between them. Naruto leans his head down and kisses a spot between Sakura's neck and shoulder before biting down. Sakura yelps in pain. Naruto pulls back in a symbol of a pink fox and a blonde fox facing each other with their foreheads leaning against the other's forehead, their tails intertwined and the Uzumaki symbol between them. Naruto-kun. Sakura moans his name, her face flushed as she looks at Naruto with her now slitted green eyes, not realizing the honorific she added to his name. Her canines enlarge and she bites down on Naruto's neck, making a pink fox appear next to the platinum-collared one and her tail intertwined with the others. Sakura removes her fangs from Naruto's neck and they stare into each other's slitted eyes before Naruto leans his forehead on hers. You're finally mine, Sakura-chan. Naruto tells her happily. I'm glad to finally be yours, Naruto-ku, but I'm ticked that you're not mine only. Sakura tells him, annoyed. Naruto chuckles before backing up a bit, not releasing his hold on Sakura, and looks into her eyes. It couldn't be helped, Sakura-chan. Both Ino-chan and Temari-chan were also my destined mates, just like you. Naruto trails off as he and Sakura turn their heads to look at Hinata. And Hinata-chan too. Hinata gasps in shock. Naruto releases his hold on Sakura and walks towards Hinata, who backs away. It's okay, Hinata-chan. All I want to do is mark you as my mate, and then finally you, me, Sakura-chan, Ino-chan and Temari-chan can live happily together forever. Naruto explains to her. Hinata's back hits a wall and she's shocked at what Naruto has just explained to her. Why you want me? She asks him nervously. Of course. Naruto answers her honestly and gently takes a hold of her arms, and the red chakra that still surrounds him envelops Hinata. See how my chakra reacts to you. It means we're a perfect match for each other. Perfect? For each other? Hinata says in disbelief. Yes. Naruto tells her as he embraces her. Don't you want me, Hinata-chan? He begins to lean his head down as Hinata looks into his slitted eyes. Yes. Was all Hinata manages to say before Naruto captures her lips in a passionate kiss which quickly deepens. The red chakra flares and Naruto breaks the kiss to bite down on Hinata's neck, marking her as his newest mate. Hinata moans as her canines enlarge and her eyes become slits. She then bites down on Naruto's neck and a purple fox appears beside the sandy blonde fox, her tail intertwined with the others. A purple fox and a blonde fox appears on her neck, their foreheads leaned against the other, tails intertwined and the Uzumaki clan symbol between them. I am yours forever, Hinata tells him dreamily. Red chakra surrounds Naruto and causes him to disappear and reappear in Ino's bedroom. Naruto sees Ino laying on her bed in a provocative way with her arms laid out gripping the covers and her feet on the bed with her legs parted in an inviting way. Her body is covered in sweat, making her body appear to be shining and she appears to be panting. Naruto walks closer to the side of her bed. Red chakra emerges from her body and reaches out to the red chakra that surrounds Naruto, connecting them in the same chakra. Ino immediately opens her eyes, revealing them to be slitted, and looks at Naruto. Naruto-kun. Ino squeals in excitement. She jumps on Naruto, wrapping her arms and legs around him and kisses him passionately. Naruto is a little taken aback by her sudden action but quickly returns the kiss. He starts caressing her back while Ino runs her fingers through his blonde locks. Naruto manages to sit on the bed and maneuvers Ino to sit on his lap. Ino begins to remove Naruto's jacket, exposing his chainmail undershirt. They briefly part from their liplock in order for Ino to remove his chainmail. As soon as it's over his head, Ino captures his lips to resume their heated kiss. Ino then repositions herself to straddle Naruto. They both part their intense makeout and Ino tails kisses down Naruto's neck, to his stomach and stopping above his belt. Ino starts undoing it and removes his pants, leaving Naruto in only his orange and black boxers with a noticeable bulge in them. Ino smiles perversely before removing his boxers, freeing his 12-inch long. Ino's eyes widen at the size, her right hand wraps around it and she pumps it a little. Is it to your liking? Naruto asks, a playful smirk in his lips. Ino looks at him with her slitted eyes, then back to his. She leans her head down and gives it a sultry lick. Naruto shivers as Ino licks up and down his shaft while caressing his balls. Naruto moans and he removes Ino's scrunchie, causing her hair to cascade down the sides of her face. Ino then engulfs Naruto's in her mouth and bobs her head up and down on it. Naruto runs his fingers through her blonde locks as she him off. The red chakra around them flares as their bodies prepare for another change. Ino-chan, you're so good, I'm going to come. Naruto says, but before he could feel his release, Ino removes her mouth from his and stands in front of Naruto. No, I want you to release inside of me. Ino says lustfully. She reaches behind her back and unclasps her bra. She slides it off, revealing her enormous S to Naruto. He drools at the sight of them. Ino smirks at his reaction and pushes her S up. Well, what are you waiting for? Dig in. As soon as she said that, Naruto latches onto her right nipple, ling on her. Ino moans as Naruto's tongue plays with her erect nipple and lightly nibbles it. Naruto switches to her left and does the same. Ino's panties start getting soaked as Naruto continues his menstruations. Unable to take it anymore, Ino pushes Naruto off and onto the bed. She then removes her soaking panties and climbs on top of Naruto and positioning his at her entrance. Okay, here, Ino was cut off as Naruto suddenly grabs her by the arms and flips her so that he's on top of her. Sorry Ino-chan, but I'm taking the lead. Naruto growls huskily, causing Ino to shiver at how Naruto is taking charge of the situation. Yes, take me Naruto-kun, make love to me. Ino tells him, almost desperate. Naruto smiles seductively at her before he plunges his entire length into her. Ino cringes in pain at the loss of her virginity as tears slide down her cheeks. Naruto kisses them away and waits until Ino gets accustomed to the pain. Ino looks at him and nods for him to continue. Naruto begins thrusting slowly, looking at Ino for any signs of discomfort. Ino's pain starts to fade and is replaced with pleasure. She starts rocking her hips, meeting Naruto's thrusts. He takes this as a sign to increase his thrusts, causing Ino to moan. More. Me harder Naruto-kun. Ino moans out. Naruto complies and pounds her harder and faster, causing Ino to moan louder and dig her nails into the bed. Naruto then starts growing in size. His muscles grow, making him more built. I can feel you getting bigger inside me. Ino says between breaths. She too starts growing. Her s get even bigger and a patch of white fur appears between her s, running up to her neck and down between her legs. Platinum blonde fur appears throughout her body and her ears move up to the top of her head, turning to fox ears with the tips being white. Naruto's body is getting covered in blonde fur. His ears move to the top of his head, also turning into fox ears with black colored tips. Grrrah! Naruto growls out as he suddenly picks up Ino, holding her by her legs as he thrusts more inside of her. Grrrah! Ino growls at Naruto, her legs and feet changing into a more dog-like appearance. Naruto's feet change just like Ino. Tails emerge from their rears and Naruto quickens his pace. Ino-chan, I'm coming. Naruto warns her as he plunges his entire length inside her, making Ino climax and causing her inner walls to clamp down on Naruto's, causing him to release his seed deep in her womb. Ino-chan. Naruto-kun. They scream their names out in ecstasy. Their faces push out into muzzles, completing their transformations. They start panting, holding each other close as they bask in their love, making unaware that they transformed into were foxes. Ino opens her eyes and stares into her mate's slitted blue eyes. She then nuzzles the side of his face with her own affectionately. Naruto-kun, that was incredible. Ino complimented Naruto. You're pretty incredible yourself, Ino-chan. Naruto compliments Ino, making her smile. She motions him to put her down. When her feet touch the floor, she stumbles a bit but quickly regains her balance. She backs up to get a better look at Naruto, who is more muscular but not enough to make him too bulky. He's much taller than he was before, his head almost touching the ceiling. His golden blonde fur almost shining in the midday sun. His strong arms and legs look like they could do some real damage, but at the same time were gently when he held her. Ino is loving Naruto's body, her instincts telling her that Naruto is a strong, healthy male worthy of fathering her offspring. Naruto also takes the opportunity to check out Ino. Her s are now bigger than Tsunade's, perfect for feeding their kits. Her nice wide hips are perfect for giving birth to their young. Ino's platinum blonde fur looks soft and elegant, befitting of her. Naruto felt very lucky that this beautiful vixen has chosen him to be her mate and father to their kits. You look magnificent, Naruto-kun, truly the definition of a strong male. Ino says, as she continues to look Naruto over with lustful eyes. You're not so bad yourself, my vixen. Naruto replies. Ino smiles deviously as she runs her hands down the sides of her body. And this is all yours, big boy. She tells him as she turns around and bends over, showing her foxto Naruto and wagging her tail from side to side. Naruto licks his lips with his long tongue as his tail wags from side to side with happiness and his quickly hardens. Do you even need to ask? Then take me, big boy. Ino tells him as she gets down all fours and Naruto begins to thrust in. Ino moans from the intense pleasure of being ed from behind. For some reason she felt more natural being ed like this. Naruto leans forward onto Ino's back and grabs her s, fondling them and pinching her erect nipples. Oh god, that feels so good. Ino moans in delight. Naruto then starts nibbling her neck, driving Ino insane. He increases his tempo and the tip of his is hitting the entrance of her womb each time. Yes. Kephitting, that spot. Ino moans out. Each time Naruto's hits the entrance of her womb, it sends a jolt to run up her spine and causing her to dig her claws into the floor. Naruto continues to thrust harder into Ino, making her scream out in pleasure. Ino-chan, I'm going to come. Naruto warns her. Come in me, Naruto-kun, impregnate me with our kits. Ino tells him in a demanding tone. Her mind is floated with the desire to reproduce. Hearing Ino say she wanted him to impregnate her triggers something in Naruto's mind as he thrusts even harder into Ino and lifting up her upper body. Ino turns her head and kisses Naruto. Their long tongues wrap around each other. Naruto gives one last powerful thrust, penetrating into Ino's womb and causing her to experience multiple orgasms. Naruto completely fills Ino's womb to the brim with his seed. As they both howl in pleasure, Ino's eyes start glowing as well as her mark. This causes Naruto's mark to glow as well as his eyes. They're both shown a vision of two kits about 2 years old with platinum blonde fur and white fur running from their chests to their bellies. One was a male, the other was female. The difference was their eyes. While the boy had light blue slitted eyes like Ino, the girl had ocean blue slitted eyes like vision soon ends and their eyes and marks stopped glowing and they stayed there panting. Ino leans into Naruto, slowly coming down from her high. Naruto leans his head down and whispers sensually in her ear, "You're a feisty vixen. And you're an animal." Ino tells him. They both chuckle before Ino feels her eyelids getting heavy and she starts nodding off. It appears that my vixen has had her fill. Naruto tells her. Ino responds by yawning, exposing her sharp teeth. Naruto smiles and carefully lifts her up. Red chakra covers them both and they teleport inside Naruto's apartment in his bedroom. Naruto carries Ino bridal style to his bed and gently lays her on it. Rest, Ino-chan, I'll be back with the others and then we can go look for our new den. Naruto tells her softly. As he turns around, he feels a tug on his tail. He looks back to see Ino's tail wrapped around, looks at Ino who looks directly into his slitted eyes. I love you, Naruto-kun. Ino confesses. Naruto smiles widely as he goes back to the bed and kisses Ino tenderly on the lips. I love you too, Ino-chan. Naruto tells her wholeheartedly. All his life he's wanted to be loved and acknowledged. Now with Ino he's found love and acceptance, and soon his other dream besides being Hokage will come true. The mark on his neck of the sandy blonde fox starts glowing, signaling that Temari's ready for him. He takes one last look at Ino's sleeping form before he teleports to where Temari is. When he appears inside her hotel room, he sees Temari on the floor in pain. Naruto quickly rushes to her side. Temari has her eyes squeezed shut. She quickly opens them when she feels a hand on her shoulder, revealing her slitted teal eyes. She sees a large man-size fox looking down on her. She quickly bolts to where her fan is on the floor by the entrance. Naruto looks at her confused. Temari has her fan opened, ready to attack. Naruto moves closer to her, which causes Temari to back up. Don't come any closer. Temari shouted. She should feel afraid, but for some reason her started to relax in the presence of this fox creature. Naruto stops and looks at Temari before smiling. Don't be afraid, it's me, Temari-chan. Temari's eyes widen in shock. This creature standing before her is her Naruto. Naruto-kun. She asked him. Yes, Temari-chan. Naruto answers her, still smiling. They suddenly hear a tearing sound. Temari looks at herself and her battle dress is starting to rip as her hips widen. Her shoulder muscles increase, causing the shoulder part of her dress to rip apart. Naruto looks at her with lustful eyes, his hardens emerging from a sheath in his groin. Temari notices his enlarged and gasps at its size, and she realized what Naruto intended to do with her. Her mind is suddenly flooded with images of Naruto taking her from behind, but what surprised her was that she was also a fox. She's broken out of her thoughts when her body is overcome with pain. She drops her fan and falls to her knees while holding her sides. She increases in size, ripping her battle dress further, and it falls on the floor, leaving her in only her bra and panties. But that doesn't last long as her S start growing again, breaking the clasp on her bra, freeing her enormous S. Temari-chan. Naruto calls out to her softly. Temari looks up and notices that Naruto's massive is right in front of her face. Temari can smell the musky scent coming off from it. The smell triggered a primal part of her mind, and without realizing it, she licks the tip, tasting the bit of cum on it. This taste, it's addictive. Temari thinks to herself as she engulfs Naruto's in her mouth and starts bobbing her head up and down. Temari-chan, that feels so good. Naruto moans as he holds her head and Temari massages his with her tongue. Temari-chan, you're ing my so much it feels like you're going to tear it off. Temari feels Naruto's twitching, signaling he's close to his release. She starts bobbing her head faster, wanting to taste his seed. I'm coming. Naruto yells out as he explodes inside her mouth. Temari almost chokes at the amount, but she manages to swallow it all. She removes her mouth from his. Red chakra emerges from her body. Sandy blonde fur spreads across her body. Her feet change to become more dog-like. Her panties rip apart as her tail emerges. Her ears move to the top of her head, becoming fox ears with the tips black. Finally, her face pushes out into a snout, completing her transformation. She slowly stands up, giving Naruto a full view of her body. Her hips are wider and nicely shaped. Her S are now bigger than Tsunade's. Naruto runs his long tongue across his lips, already looking forward to licking them. Temari's sandy blonde fur looks elegant and soft. She is a beautiful vixen. Are you ready to mate, Temari-chan? Naruto asks her. Temari responds by jumping on Naruto, causing them to fall on the floor. Yes. Temari yells enthusiastically before kissing Naruto passionately and sliding her long tongue inside his mouth. Naruto is surprised at Temari's eagerness but quickly recovers and meets her tongue with his own. He runs his hand down her fur-covered back to her thighs. He liked how her thighs felt. Naruto then moved his hands to her and gave it a squeeze, causing her to moan in his mouth. Naruto then runs his left hand towards her lips. As his thumb rubs against her, a jolt of electricity runs up her spine and causes her tail to straighten. Naruto notices Temari stiffen a bit and inserts a finger inside her, causing Temari to moan in his mouth. Naruto starts thrusting his fingers in and out of her, causing Temari to tremble in pleasure. Naruto notices Temari's tail wagging from side to side happily. Naruto smirks and adds another finger, causing Temari to throw her head back in pleasure. Naruto then licks up and down Temari's neck and kneads her. Temari couldn't believe the amount of pleasure she was feeling. She then felt Naruto's mouth latch onto her right ling on her nipple, and twirling his tongue around had her mouth open with her long tongue hanging on the left side of her mouth. Drooling, she was losing her mind to the pleasure. Naruto started pumping his fingers faster into Temari, making her moan loudly until finally her inner walls clenched around his fingers as she climaxed hard. Naruto removes his fingers from her and places them in his mouth, tasting her juices. You taste really good, Temari-chan, but what do you say we get to the main event? Naruto tells her lustfully. Temari looks at Naruto with partly clouded eyes before nodding. She gets off of Naruto and gets down on all fours and raising her towards Naruto, inviting him to mate with her. Naruto smiles. Temari is a strong woman showing unwavering confidence and determination. Seeing her being submissive and shy only to him is really turning him on. Naruto positions his at her entrance and slowly enters her. Temari shivers feeling his entering her. Then she feels Naruto's hit her barrier. She looks back to see Naruto looking at her, silently asking her if he should continue, to which she nods yes. Naruto pushes the rest of his inside her, breaking Temari's hymen. She cringes in pain and Naruto leans down to embrace her, putting his head on her right shoulder and rubbing her face with his. The pain is gone, you can continue. Temari manages to speak. Naruto lifts his head off her shoulder to look at her. He licks her cheek and starts thrusting into her slowly. Temari can still feel some pain, but that slowly fades as pleasure spreads through her body, causing her to moan. Naruto takes her moans as a sign to move faster. Temari's moans get louder as Naruto slams into her. "You're so tight, Temari-chan." Naruto grunts as he thrusts faster and harder into Temari. He starts fondling her ass and pinching her nipples. Temari's head flails from side to side. She howls in pleasure and Naruto lifts up her right leg while continuing to pound into her. "Oh God, you're hitting my womb." Temari screams out. She drags her sharp claws down on the carpet, tearing it apart. Naruto pounds even harder into Temari, hitting her womb over and over until she climaxes. "Naruto-kun. Temari-chan." They both scream each other's names in ecstasy as Naruto unleashes his seed into Temari's womb as her inner walls clench around his, milking him for all he's to them. A strong gust of wind gathered around the hotel, and when they orgasmed, the wind dispersed everywhere, blowing signs away and knocking over several stands. Temari collapses on the floor while Naruto gently lays on top of her, both panting heavily and nuzzling each other. Never before had she felt something like this, and being with Naruto made her feel complete. "I love you, my desert vixen." Naruto confesses to her. Temari to blush, but she smiles and rubs her nose with his. "I love you too, my naughty fox," she tells him honestly. "Hey, you're the one who was ing my so hungrily," Naruto teased. "But you're the one who got hard after seeing my clothes ripping apart and then ed the hell out of me," Temari countered. They lightly chuckle before Naruto stands up and helps Temari as she tries to stand on wobbly legs. "I don't think you can walk for a while," Naruto tells her, smiling mischievously. "And whose fault is that?" Temari says in mock anger. Naruto chuckles before picking her up and holding her bridal style. "Allow me." Red chakra covers them both and they teleport inside Naruto's bedroom. They see Ino laying on her side on the far right corner of the bed, sleeping. "Looks like I'm not the only one who got their brains ed out of her," Temari says teasingly. "Yeah, well, I want my mates to know just how much I love them." Naruto tells her. "You definitely love us very much then," Temari says, smiling. Naruto gently lays her on his bed and rubs her nose with his. "I'll be back," he tells her. "Hurry back. I want to feel you next to me as I sleep." Temari tells him, slightly disappointed that he won't be joining her. Naruto smiles gently at her before he steps out of the bedroom and into the hallway to see Sakura and Hinata on the couch. He notices Hinata starting to wake up. Her eyes flutter open and the first thing she sees is a giant blonde fox in front of her. Her eyes trail his muscular body, his toned chest, six-pack abs, strong arms and legs. Hinata felt both her mouths water at the thought of that strong and hard body rubbing against hers. Naruto grabs a hold of her wrists and pulls her off the couch onto her feet. Then he runs his claw down the zipper of her jacket, exposing her large S that are straining against her mesh armor. Hinata was broken from her fantasy when she felt a breeze against her chest and noticed that her S are completely exposed to the fox. "Stop, what are you doing?" Hinata yells in fright, her face red in embarrassment at having her S displayed in front of this creature. "I'm going to mate with you, Hinata-chan." Naruto answers her. That voice. Hinata's eyes widen at the familiarity of the voice. Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. Naruto says, smiling. What happened to you? Hinata asked. It's my true self. Do you like it? Naruto asks her. Hinata lifts up her hands and rubs his toned chest. I love you no matter what you looks like. She tells him honestly, a faint blush on her cheeks. It makes me happy to hear you say that. Naruto tells her with a sly smile on his lips. Hinata starts growing, her ass and hips expanding, her height increases and her fingernails and toenails grow into claws. You're going to be just like me. Naruto whispers to her. He uses his claw to cut open her mesh armor, causing her massive S to spill out. Beautiful. Naruto leans his head down and starts licking on her nipples until they're erect. Hinata tries to suppress a moan as Naruto licks and fondles her S. He then grabs Hinata's navy blue pants and pulls them down, exposing her cream-colored legs and light blue panties. Kaya. Hinata screams as she tries to cover her exposed panties with her hands. Don't be shy, Hinata-chan. Naruto gently reassures her. He pulls her hands away and leans his head down, grabs Hinata's panties with her teeth and pulls them down. Before Hinata could scream, she feels her feet burst through her ninja sandals as they change into a more dog-like version. It's time. Hinata looks down to see Naruto's massive at her entrance. Before she could turn and run, Naruto lifts her up and gently lays her down on her back. He parts her legs and positions his before he sheaths his lent into her and breaks her hymen. Hinata yelps from the pain but feels Naruto lick her cheek. She looks up at him and sees concern and love in his slitted eyes. She smiles and nods for him to continue. Naruto starts thrusting in and out of Hinata. At the same time, dark purple fur spreads around her body. She looks intently at Naruto as he continues to thrust into her. Naruto-kun is such a kind person. Even when you became this handsome fox, you're still you, she thinks to herself. She feels Naruto's pawing at the entrance of her womb, causing her to moan in pleasure. She looks again at Naruto's body, those strong muscles and healthy fur. He's a prime example of a male. He'll definitely give my kids the strength they need to survive. She grabs onto his hips with her fur-covered hands, forcing him to push deeper inside her. Naruto-kun. Hinata stutters out his name. Naruto grabs Hinata's feet by her ankles and places them onto his shoulders. He then removes her hands from his hips and laces his fingers with hers. God, you're so tight. Naruto moans out as he thrusts harder into Hinata. She moans loudly as his repeatedly hits her womb. Naruto-kun, please impregnate me. I want to carry your baby. Hinata manages to stammer out. Naruto complies by thrusting harder and faster into Hinata's, causing her to cry out in pleasure. Her ears move to the top of her head and turn into fox ears. A tail emerges from her rear and the purple fur has covered every inch of her new body. Hinata-chan, I'm coming. Naruto warns her. Do it, Naruto-kun, give me your seed. Hinata tells him desperately. With one last powerful thrust he penetrates her womb and spills his seed inside, filling it completely. Naruto-kun. Hinata screams his name as she experiences an intense orgasm and her face pushes out into a snout, completing her transformation. Naruto lies on top of Hinata, his toned chest pressing against her enormous S. He lifts his head up and gives Hinata a gentle kiss on her lips. When he parts, Hinata's lips form a satisfying smile. As Naruto slowly gets off Hinata, he feels a pair of arms wrap around his waist. Going somewhere. Naruto looks behind him and sees Sakura smirking mischievously. Her clothes are ripped due to her added muscle mass. See anything you like, Sakura says seductively as she presses her growing S against Naruto's back. He completely turns around and wraps his arms around her. Sakura leans her head on his chest as red chakra surrounds them both. Sakura's legs become more dog-like as they burst her ninja sandals. Are you ready for me, Naruto-kun? She asks. At the same time her tail emerges from her rear, tearing her panties off. Her S burst through her bra and what's left of her red top. Her S are as big as Tsunade's now, her ears moved to the top of her head becoming fox ears. I wanted you to be first Sakura-chan, but I couldn't find you, Naruto explains to her. Well, you should have looked. Sakura tells him, sounding annoyed. Pink fur starts covering her body. Naruto starts rubbing Sakura's with his right hand. I did, but I didn't count on bumping into Ino-chan and realizing that she was my mate, so I had to mark her so that everyone will know that she was already taken. He tries explaining. And what happens if someone tried to claim me while you were with Ino Pig? Sakura asks, her right eyebrow raised. Then I'd beat the shit out of him for even thinking about claiming you. You're mine, Sakura-chan, and nobody else's. I will fight tooth and nail to prove to you how serious I am about keeping you safe and happy. Naruto declares confidently. Sakura blushes at his proclamation before smiling. She grabs his with her right hand and starts pumping it. You sure have a way with words, Naruto-kun, but what are you going to do now that I'm yours? Naruto grabs Sakura's right S with his left hand and starts fondling it. I am going to make love to you, Sakura-chan, Naruto tells her. Don't just say it, show it. She orders him as her face pushes out into a snout and she kisses Naruto passionately. She continues pumping his shaft, making it rock hard. They part and Sakura backs up a bit. She turns around and leans forward, placing her hands on Naruto's living room table. Let's skip the foreplay and go straight for the main event, she says lustfully as she wags her tail from side to side. Naruto licks his lips hungrily before grabbing Sakura's hips. He positions his at her entrance and thrusts his all the way in. Sakura gasps at how long and thick Naruto's feels inside her and that it penetrated her hymen and making contact with the entrance of her womb. Are you okay, Sakura-chan? Naruto asks worriedly. Yeah, the pain wasn't as bad as I thought. You can keep moving, Sakura assures him. Naruto starts thrusting slowly as to not discomfort Sakura. She slowly begins to feel the pleasure coursing through her body and Naruto's thrusts start to quicken. Oh god, you're making me feel so good, Sakura moans out. Naruto moves his hands from her hips up her waist and grabs onto her giggling S. He starts fondling them, making Sakura moan. He leans his head down and nibbles on her ear. Ooh yes, yes, Sakura screams out as she's hit with wave after wave of pleasure as Naruto continues his ministrations and puns the entrance of Sakura's womb. This is a dream come true, to have you love me, and be able to make love to you like this, Naruto says between breaths. Then, let's make another one of your dreams come true, Sakura manages to say while being ed vigorously. She turns her head to kiss Naruto passionately. She soon parts and brings her mouth to his left ear. Let's start a family, she whispers sensually. Naruto's eyes widen and a big smile spreads across his lips. Hell yeah, he yells out as he kisses Sakura and darts his tongue inside her mouth, exploring every inch. Naruto starts thrusting harder into Sakura, ravaging her womb. She moans loudly, flailing her head around. Naruto grabs Sakura's wrists, pulling them back while continuing to pound her. Yes, I love how you're taking charge like this. That's it, keeping my. Sakura screams out in pleasure. Naruto continues to her hard, each thrust bringing him closer and closer to his release. Sakura-chan, I'm gonna come. Do it, Naruto-kun. Come inside me and make your dream of me carrying your baby into reality, Sakura encourages him. As soon as Sakura uttered those last words, Naruto thrusted hard inside her, penetrating the entrance of her womb and sprayed an enormous amount of cum inside Sakura, making her cum instantly. Naruto-kun, Sakura-chan. They both yelled each other's names as Sakura's inner walls clamped down on Naruto's, trying to milk as much cum from his as possible. They both stand there panting until Naruto wraps his arms around Sakura's waist, bringing her closer. The fifth Hokage Senju Tsunade is looking over several slips of paper with an intense gaze. Her assistant Shizune looks at her with worry. Lady Suede, is there something wrong? Tsunade looks towards Shizune, then gestures to her desk where not one but 5 lottery tickets are displayed, each one displaying the word winner. Shizune has a dumbfounded look on her face. Milady, why you hit the jackpot on all of them? Tsunade cringes a bit at Shizune's sudden outbursts but looks back to the lottery tickets with a sense of dread. Shizune, have everyone be on alert. Tell them to report everything they see no matter how minor it is. Why yes, milady. Shizune responds a bit surprised at Tsunade's sudden order, but nevertheless complies as she rushes out of the Hokage's office, leaving Tsunade alone. What could this mean? She sighs before pinching the bridge of her nose in frustration, unaware that her shadow is in the silhouette of a fox. Meanwhile, at the Yamanaka flower shop, Ino's mother Megumi has just arrived home after going grocery shopping. She enters the store and heads towards a door in the back which leads to the house part of the shop. As she walks in, she accidentally bumps into a bookcase, knocking several items down. Oh my! Megumi says in slight surprise before placing the bags she's carrying on a nearby table and crouching down to pick up the fallen items. As she is picking them off the floor and putting them in their proper place on the shelf, she notices a current photo of Ino on top of an open book. As she goes to pick it up, she notices that next to the photo is a picture of a fox, and when she lifts up the photo, the page the book is open to is about foxes. Being curious now, she looks back to the image of the fox and looks at the description below it. Female foxes, better known as vixens, are very protective of their young. She reads to herself. Now that's peculiar. What is? Startled out of her thoughts, she turns around to the source of the voice only to see her husband Inoichi entering the room. Oh, welcome home dear. She gets up and walks towards him to greet him. Thanks, so what happened here? He gestures to the items that are still on the floor. Oh, that. I just came home after getting some shopping done when I accidentally knocked down some things from the bookcase. But, she trails off as she shows Inoichi the photo of Ino and the fox. He looks at them a bit confused and looks towards his wife, his expression telling her to explain. I think it's an omen that something has happened to Ino and it involves that boy Naruto. Aren't you being a little paranoid about this? I mean, it could mean any. He stops when he notices her giving him a look that says I'm in the right. He gupples nervously before answering, if you're that bothered by it, I'll go look for Ino and check to see if she's okay. A smile instantly spreads on her face. Thanks, I knew I can always count on you. She gives him a kiss on the cheek before resuming to pick up the remaining scattered items, closing the book and putting it and the photo of Ino back where it belongs. I'll be on my way then, he says as he heads out the door. All right, but hurry home, she yells back as the door closes behind Inoichi. Megumi then glances back at the book she just put away before removing it from the shelf along with the photo of Ino and opening it to the page it was before. She stares at the photo when suddenly the photo no longer showed Ino but a platinum blonde fox in the same pose Ino was in. Megumi's eyes widen in shock. She shakes her head and looks back at the photo of Ino, which is back to normal. What was that? She asks herself before she hugs the photo along with the book. Please be alright, Ino. She quietly whispers to herself, unaware that Ino is in fact in the safest place in the village, in the arms of her mate Naruto. At the Hyuga compound, Hyuga Hiyashi, the current head of the Hyuga clan, is having a sparring session with his youngest daughter Hanabi. Alright, that's enough for today, Hanabi. Hiyashi says as he wipes off the sweat from his face with a nearby towel. Yes, father. Hanabi politely responded as she and her father were making their way back into the house when a strong gust of wind blew past them and an image of Hinata suddenly appeared in Hiyashi's mind, but there was something off about it. Hinata. Hiyashi stops in his tracks. The sudden thought of Hinata, or what appeared to be Hinata only with purple fur covering her body, complete with fox ears and a tail, was troubling him. Hanabi notices her father's sudden stop, looks at him with confusion. Is there something the matter, father? Hiyashi snaps out of his thoughts and looks at Hanabi before responding in a calm voice. It was just a stray thought, nothing to be concerned about. He resumes his walk back towards the house. Hanabi stares at her father's retreating back, not sure of what to make of his odd behavior. At the Haruno household, Mebuki Haruno is cleaning her daughter's room. I know Sakura told me that there's no need for me to enter her room since she keeps it clean, but... Mebuki trails off as she looks around her daughter's room. Articles of clothing as well as books and scrolls are scattered around. Honestly, that girl is just like her father. Mebuki thinks, annoyed. As she picks up the clothing first, a cold chill runs down her spine, causing her to stand up straight. What was that? She asks herself when she hears hurried footsteps down the hallway and her husband Kazashi enters the room looking around frantically. What's gotten into you? She asks him questionably. I just felt a cold chill run down my very soul and my fatherly instincts tell me that it involves Sakura. He loudly proclaims. Mebuki sighs in annoyance at her husband's outburst when she realizes that he also felt what she felt. Wait, hold up. Did you just say you felt a cold chill? He nods dumbly. This can't be a coincidence, she says as he places her right hand at the side of her head and shakes her head slightly. Kazashi suddenly points at her. You felt it too. Then it's a definite sign that something has happened to Sakura. He then bolts down the hallway. Hey, where do you think you're going? Mebuki yells out, shocked at his sudden action, before running after him and manages to tackle Kazashi into the ground before he reaches the door. Baka, calm down, Mebuki demanded of her husband, as she holds him by his waist. But Sakura could be in danger, I must save her. He yells out desperately as he struggles out of Mebuki's hold. Baka, how can Sakura be in danger inside the village, and even if she was in some sort of trouble, she can handle it. Even as she tells him this, she still couldn't help but feel a little bit worried for her daughter's safety. The hours pass by and the sun sets, allowing the full moon to shine its light over the village and illuminating a certain apartment through a bedroom window. The occupants inside stirred until one of them opens its eyes, revealing a pair of slitted blue eyes. The other occupants of the bed also started waking up. They lifted their heads and yawned a bit, revealing their sharp teeth, before rubbing the rest of the sleep from their eyes. Sleep well, my vixens? Naruto asks them while laying on his back, gazing up at all look down at him before smiling. With a hot stud like you to cuddle with, who wouldn't? Ino responds lustfully, staring into Naruto's slitted blue eyes with her own. Being wrapped in your strong arms makes me feel so safe. Sakura says dreamily. Not to mention you're very warm and it's comforting, Temari adds her own 2 cents. It's a dream come true. Hinata responds lastly, still coming to terms that her dream of being with Naruto and to be make love to him has come true. Naruto looks at all of them, as the moonlight hits them just right, making their fur gleam. Naruto was in awe of their beauty. Ino is the first to notice his dazed look and a smirk spreads across her lips. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? Ino asks in a teasing tone, did we leave you speechless? Temari joins in. The way the moon's light hits you all like that, reveals to me what you really are, and what would that be? Sakura asks, her left eyebrow raised. Goddesses. Naruto replies with all honesty, never breaking his gaze from his. All caught off guard by his response and blush furiously, but their fur hides it. They then lean their heads towards him and nuzzle his face. Their hands soon start roaming all over his muscular chest. As much as I would love to show my devotion to my goddesses, it would be better if we find a place of worship first. The girls nod, although a bit reluctantly, in agreement. But don't we have to do something else before we leave? Temari asks. Yes, although it's gonna be a little difficult for you, Temari-chan. Temari just shrugs her shoulders. It can't be helped, but we should hurry and get everyone else's out of the way, and besides we might run into Gaara and Kankuro along our way. They get off Naruto's bed and exited his apartment. Once outside they immediately took to the rooftops as they made their way towards their first destination, the Yamanaka flower shop. They land by the front door and walk around the property of the house on all fours, making sure the coast is clear. Okay, everyone, listen up. I think it would be better if me and Naruto-kun do this alone. Ino says, surprising everyone slightly. Why just us, Ino-chan? Naruto voices the question on everyone's mind. Ino looks at Naruto, a serious expression on her face. Because Naruto-kun, if we all barged in looking the way we do, my parents might feel threatened and might do something rash. Ino explains matter-of-factly. Everyone thinks for a moment and come to the conclusion that Ino is right. Okay then, me and Ino-chan will go in while you three look for a place to hide and wait for us. Naruto explains the plan and Sakura, Hinata and Temari nod in agreement as they began looking for a place to hide. Hinata took to the trees and hid in the nearest one to the house, and using her Byukugan she'll be able to see what's happening around her and alert the hides in some bushes, while Temari hides under an overturned food cart leaning on the side of a wall in an alley. Are you ready, Ino-chan? Naruto asks, to which Ino replied with a simple, yes. They walked around the house to the back door. Ino placed her palm on the wall next to the door and channels some chakra to it, opening a secret compartment with a spare house key. Enter the house and see a light coming from the living room where Ino's parents are sitting on the couch. You couldn't find her? Megumi asks her husband, her voice close to panic. No, I looked in the places she would normally hang around, but she wasn't in any of them. Inoichi responded, close to panicking himself. Mom, Daddy. Their eyes widen at the familiar voice and they turn their attention towards the darkened hallway to see a silhouette of what appears to be a woman standing in the darkness with someone. Ino. Both Ino's parents shouted in unison as Megumi stands and walks towards her daughter, worry now being replaced with anger. Where have you been, young lady? Do you have any idea how late? She suddenly stops, her anger quickly dissipating as shock starts to overcome her, draining the color from her face. As Ino steps into the light, revealing her form. Oh God. Megumi whispers, her voice close to hysteric. She and Inoichi stare in shock at this platinum blonde fox standing before them with her tail wrapped around her legs nervously. Is it really you, Ino? Inoichi asks, his voice cracking slightly. Ino smiles and nods at them. She takes a step towards them, but her mother reflexively takes a step back and Inoichi quickly puts himself in front of his wife protectively. Please don't be afraid, Ino says, trying to plead with them. How can we be sure that it's really you? Inoichi demands, being wary of the fox. Read my mind and you'll know it's really me. Ino suggested, but her father remains unsure. How can I be sure you won't try to attack me? He asks, but Ino just smiles as she responds, if I wanted to attack you I would have done so from the beginning. Realizing that she's right, Inoichi steps closer but a bit cautious. When he gets close enough he gently places his right palm over the fox's forehead, noticing that she's at least a foot taller than him. He begins to go through her memories from her days in the academy to her duties as a ninja. Inoichi's shocked at the realization that the vixen was telling the truth, that she is in fact his daughter. As he attempts to look at her memories from today, he's suddenly stopped and pushed out of Ino's mind. Inoichi blinks several times as his mind returns to his body. He looks at Ino, who's grinning like a fox. Sorry daddy, but those special memories are off limits. Ino tells him with a mischievous gleam in her eyes. But how did you become this? He asks, still suspicious at the special memories she mentioned and the fact that she was able to easily push him out of her mind. It's a result of me finding my mate. Ino responds with great happiness. A mate? Her mother asks, confused, as she walks up to stand beside her husband. Yes, in other words, my husband. I'm married now. Ino tells with equal happiness, barely keeping herself from in Megumi's eyes widen in shock and disbelief. Husband? Married? They shouted in unison. Tita who? Asked Megumi, and on cue the other person with Ino steps forward, revealing himself to be a sunny blonde fox who's scratching the back of his head nervously, towering over them. That would be me. Naruto laughs sheepishly. Ino smiles and wraps her arms around his left arm. Mom, Dad, I want to introduce you two to my husband, Uzumaki Naruto. Ino says proudly. Naruto. Inoichi yells in shock and fatherly rage that this punk deflowered his daughter. Megumi, on the other hand, stares at Naruto with her mouth open in shock. Her eyes start to wander to Naruto's strong chest muscles, powerful arms and legs, causing her to blush. Ino notices how her mother is taking special notice of her mate and smiles mischievously. He's pretty good eye candy, isn't he, Mom? Ino asks teasingly as she rubs Naruto's muscular chest suggestively. But only I can get a taste. Ino winks at her mother, causing her to blush profusely and Inoichi to look at her in shock. Honey. Megumi turns to her husband and shakes her hands in front of her wildly. It's not what you think, Inoichi-kun. She reassures her husband, but her is still beat giggles at the display before deciding she had enough fun teasing her mom. I'm just teasing you, Mom. I know you love Daddy very much and you're gonna prove it to him later tonight. Inoichi and Megumi blush at what their daughter just suggested, but quickly shook it off, wanting to get back to the matter at hand. Let's not get off topic. Inoichi tells them, your father's right, you still haven't explained to us how you two are married. Ino and Naruto look at each other before Naruto answers, it's simple. My chakra responded to Ino-chan, signifying that we are a perfect match, and then we marked each other, making us mates. Naruto explained it in the simplest way possible while Ino shakes her head while smiling at how her Naruto-kun gave a very Naruto-like answer, but then that's what she loved about him. Marked. Inoichi questioned, thinking that Naruto marked his baby girl by having his way with her. But he was surprised when Ino and Naruto showed them their marks that are currently glowing on their necks to make themselves visible. This mark shows that I belong to Naruto-kun. Ino explains dreamily, the same goes for mine, although I don't just belong to Ino-chan. Naruto says doesn't like the sound of that and asks, what do you mean? Ino's parents see her narrow her eyes. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one who was compatible with Naruto-kun. Ino spits out seethingly, obviously annoyed that she has to share Naruto's affection. You mean? Megumi couldn't finish that sentence, her right hand covering her mouth to suppress a gasp. Yes, Naruto-kun is mated to 3 other vixens. Ino finishes what her mother wanted to. Her parents are shocked, as if the previous news weren't bad enough. Inoichi's eyes narrow as he looks at Naruto with seething anger. So my daughter wasn't enough for you, so you decided to have more women, huh, Naruto? Naruto raises his hands in front of his body, motioning for Inoichi to hold on. Although he can easily take on Inoichi, he doesn't want to hurt his mate's father. And no, that's not it at all, Inoichi-san. It's more than I could ever want, but what? Inoichi abruptly interrupts Naruto, getting ready to beat the living daylights out of him. My chakra reacted to 3 other women after I marked Ino-chan. I had no idea that would happen. Naruto desperately tries to explain himself. But you still could have chosen not to mark them. Inoichi countered, not buying Naruto's excuse. I can't do that. Naruto suddenly yells out, surprising everyone in the room. And why is that? Inoichi asks, a bit worried now from Naruto's outburst. Because someone else might claim them, and just the thought of someone else spending time with them makes me angry. How would you feel if before you married your wife and you're going to make your move, but someone else tries to make a move on her first? Are you just gonna let him take her from you? Inoichi is taken aback but looks towards his wife, who smiles gently towards him. Inoichi sighs, calming himself a little before answering, I wouldn't sit still, I would fight for Megumu-chan. Megumi's smile brightens at her husband's words and kisses him on the cheek. The same thing applies to me. Even if I didn't mark Ino-chan first, I will make her mine and fight whoever tries to take her from me. Naruto declares with determination, causing Ino to blush at the sincerity of his words, and then a beautiful smile spreads across her lips, knowing Naruto means everything he said, and hugs Naruto's arm tighter, burying his arm in between her enormous S. Okay, but why did you two become foxes? Megumi asks the question she wanted to ask since seeing Ino's new form. Because Naruto-kun's a fox, was Ino's simple answer. Both her parents look at Naruto. Could this have something to do with the Kyuubi? Inoichi thinks to himself. That explains Naruto, but what about you, Ino? Megumi asks curiously. When Naruto-kun marked me as his mate, I became a part of his clan, hence why I turned into a fox. Ino tries to explain. I see, Megumi says, trying to understand what her daughter just told her. Also, my abilities have been greatly enhanced, and so has my body. Ino motions to her body and enhanced features. Can you change back? Megumi asks nervously. I'm not sure, and even if I could, why would I want to? Ino replies to her mother's question while snuggling into Naruto's arm before looking to them again. Anyway, I wanted you two to know that I found the love of my life and introduce you to him. And what are you two going to do after you've talked to us? Asked Inoichi, waiting anxiously for their answer. He didn't wait long as Naruto answered, well, after we said our goodbyes, me and my mates will go look for a den. A den? Goodbye? Ino's parents asked simultaneously. Yes, every child must leave the nest eventually to start a life of their own. Ino tells them, but like this? Megumi asks, referring to their fox forms. Yes, we will live our lives undisturbed and raise our kids in peace. As soon as Ino finished, there was a long silence as Ino's parents processed her last words. Inoichi is the first to break the silence. Ino. Don't tell me that. Inoichi stammers out. Yes, I'm pregnant with Naruto's baby. Ino confirms while she gently rubs her stomach with her left hand. Then I can't just let you two leave then. Inoichi declares as he gets ready to make his move. I figured you would say something like that. Naruto manages to say before Ino disappears from his side, only to reappear behind her parents. With a single karate chop to the back of their necks, Megumi and Inoichi were out cold. Naruto catches them before they could hit the ground and lays them gently on the couch. I guess it was too much to hope that they would just go along with everything. Ino says solemnly. Naruto walks up to Ino and wraps his arms around her waist. Hey, don't worry about it, Ino-chan, at least they weren't opposed to us being together. Ino smiles and she snuggles into Naruto's chest. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She looks up to meet his gaze and smiles seductively. You know, that deserves a reward, she says as she licks her lips. Naruto smirks as he brings his arms around her waist to Ino's front and fondles her s. Wait till we find our den first, then I will wholeheartedly accept your reward. Naruto says huskily. They both then head outside and meet up with Sakura, Hinata and Temari. When they arrived at the compound, Hinata gestures to a nearby tree and they land on the branches without making a sound. Ordinarily the guards on patrol would see you no matter where you hide and sound the alarm, but thanks to our new looks, as long as you act like foxes, then they won't pay you much mind. Hinata told the girls, but I would suggest you still keep your distance from any of the guards and try to conceal certain traits that might draw their attention. She motions to their large S, causing them to blush. As if I'd let someone have a peek at these babies. Ino declares, folding her arms under her S and pushing them up. These are exclusively for Naruto-kun. The rest of the girls nod in agreement and Naruto and Hinata start making their way towards the main house of the Hyuga clan while the remaining girls hide among the dense leaves and acting as natural foxes would. Which wasn't as hard as they thought since not only has their bodies changed but their minds are now more developed, their basic instincts now increased as well as smell, sight and the hearing portions of their brain are more developed. Not only do they retain their human mind but they gained the behavior of a wild fox, their reproductive cycle has also been altered. They still have their regular human fertile days but the development of their young inside their womb is a lot faster now, but there's another change in their ovulation cycle that they'll discover later on. Naruto and Hinata to sneak into the main house thanks to Hinata's knowledge of the compound. As they looked around they spotted Hiashi, Hanabi and Neji sitting on the porch overlooking the training yard. Naruto and Hinata jumped from the roof and landed at the far end of the training field and started walking towards the center on all fours. Hiashi, Hanabi and Neji were surprised to say the least at seeing two large foxes approaching them, but surprise turned into shock when the purple fox suddenly stood upright. The moon shone on her fur making it shine and glisten. Hiashi, Neji and Hanabi were left breathless at the fox's beauty and even as she was walking towards them each step she took was graceful barely making a sound. Hinata put a little extra sway in her hips to entice Naruto and using her Byakugan she can see her efforts were paying off as she sees his eyes glued to her perfectly shaped butt. Hinata's lips form into a satisfying smile as she comes to a stop a few feet in front of her father, younger sister and clasps her hands in front of her crotch area and bows. Good evening father, Hanabi-chan, Neji-nichan. Hinata greeted them politely shocking her family even further that not only can this fox walk like a human but speak too. Then they realized that she knew who they are and the familiarity of her voice made their eyes widen in realization. Hinata. A shocked Hiashi blurted out. Hinata lifted her head to look at her father and smiles, yes, it's me father. Their eyes widened at the confirmation and their minds were flooded with questions as to how did she become like this, what does this mean for the clan and so forth. Hanabi takes a real look at her sister specifically her large S that are even bigger than what she had before and without the baggy sweater she can clearly see how firm they look. Her fur looked marvelous especially in the moonlight which was also illuminating her eyes. Her slim waistline leads to her nicely shaped hips. Hinata looked like a goddess causing Hanabi to feel really envious of her sister's fabulous body. Hinata, what happened to you? Neji asked. I have become a part of my mate's world. Hinata replies with a smile. Mate, was the reply of her three family members. The blonde fox stood up easily towering over them and walks behind Hinata before wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her to his well-toned chest. Yes, it's the same as saying he's my husband. Hinata says with glee. Husband. All three blurted out. Even Hiashi's calm demeanor didn't last at this news. Hinata leans her head back onto Naruto's shoulder. I would like to properly introduce you all to my husband Uzumaki Naruto. Hinata announces happily to them all, making her family speechless that the blonde fox is Naruto and apparently he's married to Hinata. Hinata, how did this occur? Her father asked after regaining his composure. Hinata looks up at Naruto who's smiling gently at her. She looks back towards her father. When Naruto-kun marked me as his mate I became a fox as proof of my acceptance into his pack, also my abilities have greatly increased as a result. That's not the only thing that's increased. Hanabi thought to herself as she stares at Hinata's enormous S, she must have been staring too long because Hinata noticed her gaze. Is there something you'd like to ask Hanabi-chan? Hinata asks causing Hanabi to snap out of her gaze and looks into her older sister's pale silted eyes. No, I was just deep in thought that's all. Hanabi stammers out as she smiles nervously at her sister. Hinata walks towards her sister until she's standing right in front of her. Hanabi looks up at Hinata who's now taller than her father. Hanabi felt a bit intimidated. She has never felt intimidated by her older sister before. Hinata was gently looking, shy and wouldn't hurt a fly, but looking at her now Hanabi could feel a strong confident presence emanating from Hinata. She couldn't help but let her eyes wander to her S, which looked much bigger up close and definitely looked firm to the touch. She had to stop herself from actually cooping a feel to test their firmness. She could see Hinata's nipples peeking through her fur, making her self-conscious, but it quickly turns to surprise when Hinata pulled her into a hug, smothering Hanabi's face between her massive S. If you're worried about me still being your big sister, then you have nothing to worry about. We'll always be sisters. I'll always love you, Hanabi-chan. Hinata wholeheartedly tells her. Hanabi was touched by her sister's words, but her oxygen supply was starting to run out. So I'm hoping you could visit us to see our kids when they're born. Hiyashi, Neji and Hanabi were confused at what Hinata said. Hanabi manages to lift her head out of her sister's generous bosom. What do you mean by kids, Hinata-ne-sama? Hinata blushes a bit, but her fur conceals it. She smiles before taking a step back. She then grabs Hanabi's hands and places them on her stomach. Hanabi is confused at first, but her eyes quickly widen when she finally realizes what Hinata was saying. Do you mean to tell me that you're pregnant? Hanabi says in disbelief, causing her father and cousin to look at Hinata with wide and shocked-filled eyes. Yes, without a doubt I'm pregnant with Naruto-kun's baby. Hinata responded happily. She then looks to Naruto, who gives her a foxy grin, causing her to blush. Of course, with a strong and passionate mate like Naruto-kun, there's no doubt that our kids will strong, or will be without company for long. Her family was speechless, unable to respond, but eventually Neji managed to calm down enough to break the silence. Hinata-sama, what are you planning to do afterwards? Well, me, Naruto-kun, Sakura-san, Ino-san and Temari-san are going to look for a den so we can raise our family. Hinata responded. This caught Neji off guard. What do you mean? Are you saying that Sakura, Ino and Temari from Suna are also foxes? A shocked Neji asks. Yes, Naruto-kun has chosen us to share his life with, and we couldn't be happier. Hinata looks towards her father and walks towards him, stopping 5 feet in front of him. Father, I know I was always a failure due to my lack of confidence in my skills, so no matter how hard I worked I would ultimately end up failing. But no matter how many times I fail, I will keep trying because I have people who believe in me and want to protect. She casts a look back at Naruto as she gently rubs her stomach before looking back at her father. Father, I realize that to redden the Hyuga clan's strength I have to marry someone who is not only strong but is of high nobility. Naruto-kun is without a doubt incredibly strong, as he saved the village from pain. Not only that, but he's very loyal and would do anything to protect those precious to him. Also, he's very close to our current Hokage, and she'll no doubt choose him as her successor. Hiyashi looks briefly at Naruto and couldn't help but agree with his daughter. Naruto has indeed proven himself to be a capable shinobi to everyone in the village. Naruto would indeed be able to protect his daughter, and judging by how Hinata is showing great confidence and determination is proving to him that Naruto is having a positive influence on her. As you can see, Father, Naruto-kun is without a doubt worthy to be my mate, and he'll be a great father to our kids. Hinata finishes explaining and looks at her father with determination in her eyes. Hiyashi stares into her daughter's silted eyes, looking for any signs of hesitation. You've made some pretty good points, but tell me this, do you honestly believe that this young man can make your dreams come true? Hiyashi asks, catching Hinata by surprise. What do you mean, father? Detecting Hinata's hesitation, Hiyashi presses on. What I mean is, are you gonna put on hold your own ambitions just so Naruto can pursue his? Hiyashi asks in a commanding tone, trying to intimidate his daughter. Hinata lowers her head before quietly whispering, what would be the point in doing that? All eyes are on Hinata as she raises her head slightly to look at her father. If I did that, then how can I stand by Naruto-kun's side? I want to help and support Naruto-kun, so I can't stay idle. I have to get stronger so that whatever challenges comes our way we'll be able to face them together. Naruto-kun void that he'll change the Hyuga clan when he becomes Hokage, but if I become the head of the Hyuga clan I can help the changes to along more smoothly. Then together we will guide the Hyuga clan to a bright and prosperous future where neither of my kits will be subjugated to the cage bird seal. Hinata explains with fire in her eyes. There will be some members of the clan who will go against your wishes and will do whatever it takes to stop your changes or get you to step down as head of the clan, even going as far as to use your children against you. Hiashi explains with narrowed eyes. I will fight them with all my strength every step of the way, and if they so much as look at my kits with ill intent. Hinata bares her fangs and claws, growling, and with narrowed eyes says, I will tear thee apart. I don't care who they are. If you dare threaten my young, I will you. Hinata unleashes a massive wave of her intent, causing Hiashi, Hanabi and Neji to struggle to keep standing. She's dead serious about that threat, and judging by how she's glaring at me, there's no doubt she'll even me if I do even the slightest thing to my grandchildren she doesn't approve. Mothers are a dangerous force to face. Hiashi thought to himself, trying to keep himself from taking a step back. Why, you certainly make a strong argument, Hinata. Hinata calms down and their intent begins to subside. Hiashi sighs in relief. Hinata, if you, Naruto and his other mates are going to look for this den, do you plan to search somewhere near the village or the land of fire for that matter? That depends if the location is suitable. If not, then we'll have to keep searching, even venturing outside the land of fire if we must. Responded Hinata. I see. You understand that the village can't afford to have 5 of its finest shinobi just leave. Hiashi stated, causing the 2 foxes to tense, and Naruto goes to stand by Hinata's side, but then Hiashi turns around and begins walking away. Then you better hurry, they get a chance to stop you. Hiashi says, causing everyone's eyes to widen in shock, unable to believe what they just heard. Father, Hinata says questioningly. Hiashi stops in front of the entrance eating inside the house and without turning around calls out, Naruto. Naruto straightens up at his name being called. Why, yes sir. Naruto manages to stutter out. Take good care of my daughter. Hiashi simply says, shocking everyone yet again. Naruto got over his shock quickly though, and with unwavering determination responded, you can count on me. Hinata. Hiashi addresses his daughter. Why, yes father. Hinata responds. You've chosen a fine life partner. He's definitely a positive influence on you, and I'm looking forward seeing my future grandchildren you'll have with him. Hinata blushes, but she's happy that her father accepted Naruto. We'll be on our way then. Thank you, father. She bows and Naruto does the same. They make their leave. Uncle, are you sure about this? Neji questioned after being silent for a while. Hinata has made her decision perfectly clear. Besides, with Naruto and her friends supporting her, I know she'll be alright. But aren't you worried about her? Hanabi Aslo questioned her father after they all entered the house and took a seat. I admit, when I first saw the purple fox and told us that she was Hinata, I was very concerned, admits Hiashi. Then why did you let her go then? Hanabi asked, not understanding her father's decision. Because your sister is in good hands, was all Hiashi said as they all remained silent as Hiashi poured himself some tea. Meanwhile, Naruto and Hinata regrouped with the others and make their way to the Haruno residence. So your dad was okay with you being Naruto-kun's mate along with us? Ino questioned them as they continued to jump off rooftops. Yes, I was surprised myself by his answer. Hinata answered Ino's question. That was almost too nice of him. Temari says questioningly. What do you mean, Temari-chan? Naruto asks her, confused. I don't think he'll just let his heir and the Byakugan leave the clan that easily. Temari explains. I know, but he's at least given us a head start, so we better make the most of it. Hinata finishes saying as they all hurried to the Haruno residence. When they landed by the front door, Sakura took a deep breath. You nervous? Naruto asked Sakura as he came up behind her and nuzzled the right side of her face. I'll be alright as long as you're by my side. Sakura tells him, smiling. She reaches for the doorknob, turning it slowly and opening the door. They made their way into the house, and when they reached the living room they were greeted with the sight of an unconscious Kazashi with a large lump on his head, courtesy of his wife Mebuki, who was standing over him, arms crossed and holding a frying pan in her right hand. Oh great, what did Dad do this time? Sakura asks, annoyed to no one in particular. Upon hearing his daughter's voice, Kazashi suddenly regains consciousness and quickly stood up and engulfed his daughter in a tight hug, crying tears of joy. Oh, my baby girl is home safe and sound. Daddy was so worried. Kazashi says between sobs. Dad, I'm perfectly fine, and stop crying, you're embarrassing me. Demanded Sakura, blushing at having her father say such things while Naruto was there to witness. She tried to pry her father's arms off of her, but even with her newfound strength she had trouble freeing herself. When she was finally able to free herself from her father's grip, she noticed that her mother was frozen in shock in her trusty frying pan lying on the floor. Kazashi finally calmed down and looked at Sakura, and as soon as he did, his reaction mirrored his wife's. Sakura? Kazashi asked, a bit shaken. Why, yeah. Sakura confirms as she rubs her left arm nervously, waiting for her parents' shock to wear off. How come you're a fox? Her mother Mebuki finally asked. It's a reset of me mating with Naruto-kun. Sakura responded. Mating? Kazashi questioned, hoping it wasn't what he thinks it is, as he and Mebuki looked towards the direction of the blonde fox behind Sakura. Kazashi's turned red with steam rising from the top of his head before lunging towards Naruto. Sakura, expecting this, jumped in between Naruto and Kazashi and held her father back. You bastard! How dare you defile my daughter? Kazashi spits out angrily. Dad, calm down. Naruto-kun didn't defile me, we made love just live any married couple do. Sakura says, trying to calm him down, which it did as Kazashi stopped and along with Mebuki looked at Sakura, asking together, married? Sakura wraps her arms around Naruto's left arm. Mom, Dad, I want you to meet my husband Uzumaki Naruto. Sakura beams with pride as she introduced Naruto. Her parents stare wide-eyed with gaping mouths. We actually came here so that I can introduce you two to him. Just what the hell is all this about? Kazashi yells in frustration. It's like I explained earlier, Naruto-kun and I are now mated, and we came to tell you two the news before we leave to find a den where we can live and where I can securely give birth to our kids in. As soon as Sakura finishes that sentence, her parents stare at her with pale faces. Kits. Mebuki stutters out. Sakura, are you telling us that you're? Kazashi couldn't finish that sentence. Yes, I'm pregnant with Naruto's baby. Sakura tells them happily, and soon two thuds were heard as Sakura's parents fainted. Are they okay? Naruto asks worriedly as Sakura kneels down in front of her parents and touches their foreheads. Her eyes glowed briefly before returning to normal. They're all right, they just fainted. I guess this was too much to take in all at once. Sakura explains as she picks up her mother and motions Naruto to pick up her father. They carry them to their room and gently lay them on their bed. Okay, we only have to see one more person. And after that we can officially start our lives. Naruto says as he comes up behind Sakura, wrapping his arms around her chest and cupping her s. Patience, Naruto-kun. We need to find a den first, then I'm all yours. Sakura says with a smirk. Naruto reluctantly releases his hold on Sakura and head outside, where they expected to find Ino, Hinata and Temari waiting for them, but were nowhere to be found. Where did everybody go? Naruto asked out loud. We're right here, stud. Ino replies in a sultry voice as she, Hinata and Temari appeared in front of Naruto and Sakura, startling them. How'd you do that? Sakura asks, still feeling surprise. It's one of our new abilities. Temari tells her. We can become invisible now to help us hide and remain undetected. Added Ino. We just discovered we could do this a little while ago. Hinata added further. That's awesome, Naruto said excitedly. It would have been great to have that ability earlier. Sakura sighs in annoyance. No point in complaining about it now, I guess. Okay, so how do we become invisible? Naruto asks with excitement particularly bouncing. You just focus chakra around your body. Since our chakra has trace amounts of nature chakra, it reacts to the surrounding environment, absorbing the outside energy, making us blend into the environment. Explains Temari. And since the chakra surrounding us matches the environment, the Byakugan can't detect us. Finished explaining Hinata. Naruto and Sakura did as they were told and focused their chakra all over their body. Just like Temari said, they became invisible. This is amazing, Sakura said astonished. Hell yeah, Naruto replied enthusiastically. Come on, we better hurry before they start searching for us. Ino added in as they headed towards their final destination. In the Hokage Tower, Tsunade is busy looking over a small pile of paperwork that earlier in the day was 3 times bigger. How did Sarutobi-sensei not go insane with all this paperwork? Tsunade says in frustration. I think he already did. Tsunade looks up from the paperwork in her hands in surprise and searches around her office for the voice. Who's there? Relax, Ba-chan. Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari appeared in front of Tsunade's desk. We're right here. Naruto says while grinning. Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata, Temari. Tsunade blurts out shocked. Good evening, Shiso. We're sorry to bother you so late, but we have something important to tell you. Sakura says apologetic. She and Ino hug Naruto's waist while Hinata and Temari hug each of his arms. We're Naruto-kun's wives. The vixens declared enthusiastically. Tsunade's eyes widen, but not just from the announcement but from the fact that they're all foxes. I came here to introduce them to you. As you know, I don't have any parents or any family for that matter, but I always thought of you as the mother I always wanted. Naruto explained honestly. Tsunade is deeply touched that Naruto has always thought of her as his mother despite him calling her granny, and if she was honest with herself, she was always considered Naruto as her son. Thank you for telling me that, Naruto. It really means a lot to me to hear you say that. Tsunade wipes away a stray tear. I also want you to know that I think of you as my son, and every day I think to myself what it would have been like if I was able to raise you when you were. Tell me why you're here. It can't be just for the announcement. You're right, we're here to tell you that we're leaving. Temari stated. Leaving? Tsunade says shocked. She clearly wasn't expecting to be told that. We're not abandoning the village if that's what you're thinking. Ino clarifies. We're going to go searching for a den. Sakura explains. And once you become like us, you'll be able to find it using the link. Hinata finishes explaining. Link, wait. Become like you? Tsunade says shocked. Yeah, because you also have Fox Chakra. Naruto says as if it was obvious. Fox Chakra? Tsunade AKS raising her eyebrow. Yeah, I had it and it turned me into what you see. My mates turned into vixens after I marked them and gave them Fox Chakra. Naruto finishes explaining. Naruto, did anyone else see you like this? Tsunade asked. Yeah, we visited each of my mates' parents and told them what we told you, said Naruto. But we really must be going now. I'm sorry to have to leave so abruptly, Lady Tsunade, but we must leave undetected. Temari explains. You do realize that as Hokage I can't just let you leave like this. Tsunade tells them. She sighs and sits back on her chair. But as your mother, it is my responsibility to help my son and daughters-in-law, so I'm giving you a 5-minute head start. She smiles and looks at their stunned expressions. You're the best, Ka-chan. Naruto yells happily as he leans over the desk and pulls Tsunade into a hug. She's surprised by the sudden gesture, but quickly returns the hug. Naruto looks back towards his mates. What are you standing there for? This hug isn't complete without you. Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari quickly joined in. Tsunade could feel the love emanating from the hug. Be careful out there, all of you. Tsunade tells them worriedly. Don't worry, Ka-chan, I'll make sure nothing happens to my mates, declares Naruto. That's what worries me, Tsunade tells him as she breaks the hug to look at her new daughters. I'm trusting you four to take care of my son and keep him out of trouble. Hey, Naruto protests. We'll try, Sakura says while smiling. Don't worry, we'll keep him in line, added Ino. They back up and Tsunade takes one last look at her children. You better be on your way then, she said with a tinge of sadness in her voice, but no one noticed. See you soon, Ka-chan. Naruto tells her with a big foxy grin as they jump out an open window. Tsunade watches their retreating backs before they suddenly vanished. They were in such a hurry that they forgot to tell me. Tsunade says to herself. A sly smile spreads across her lips. A mother's duty is to help her children, but a grandmother's responsibility is to make sure her grandchildren are safe, happy and healthy. The den they're looking for won't be a sterilized environment for when the babies are born. Suede walks towards the door and exits her office. Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari have reached the village wall and ascended to the top. They take one last look at the village. I'm sure going to miss you, Konoha, Naruto admits sadly. Hatchlings must eventually leave the nest to start their own journey. Temari tells Naruto, you're only saying that because this isn't your home, that you had so many memories and experiences that you're leaving behind. Ino tells Temari, sounding annoyed that Temari isn't being sensitive to the situation. But I have experienced wonderful things here, Temari tells Ino, trying to reassure her that she wasn't being insensitive. Like what? Ino questions, raising an eyebrow at her fellow matriarch. Well, for one, it was in this village that my little brother got his humanity back, Temari explains, and then she looks to Naruto lovingly. And it was here that I met my mate, made love for the first time, and it's here where we conceived our first child. Temari nuzzles Naruto's face with hers and pressing her large S against his toned chest. Now's not the time for that, we need to leave before we are spotted, Ino reminded her, annoyed that Temari is showing affection to Naruto in front of her. Temari sighs before backing away, already missing the warmth Naruto provided. Let's go, Naruto yelled as they became invisible before running down the wall and into the forest. Meanwhile, Tsunade is standing in front of a group of Jonin and Chunin, made of Naruto's friends and teachers. Where are Naruto and Sakura? It isn't like them to be late, Kakashi thought to himself. He looks around and notices that Ino and Hinata are also missing, and judging by the looks of their teammates, they also have no idea where they could be. Alright, with the exception of a few people, everyone's here. Tsunade addresses everyone present. As of this moment, you will all be participating in a SS Clash mission. Everyone's eyes widen in shock. The thought on all their minds was what kind of search mission would be labeled SS Class. Hokage-sama, what are we searching for in this mission? Shikamaru voiced the question on everyone's minds. You will be searching for Uzumaki Naruto, Uzumaki Sakura former Haruno, Uzumaki Ino former Yamanaka, Uzumaki Hinata former Hyuga, and Uzumaki Temari. Tsunade tells them and watches their reactions. As she expected, everyone's expression was of shock. Tsunade explained how Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari showed up in her office and their transformations. How can this be? Asked a stunned Kiba. I don't know all the details, but we must find them before anyone outside the Land of Fire does, Tsunade declared. Lady Tsunade, if I can suggest, we should visit Sakura and Ino's homes, they might have told their parents about the situation. Offered up Neji. What about Hinata and Temari? Kiba asked. Temari's brothers are back in the sand village. I don't think she's had a chance to visit them yet. As for Hinata, she has already visited us. Neji explained, causing everyone to look at him with wooden eyes. Did she say anything that can help us? Tsunade asked. Pretty much what they already told you, but. Neji trails off. But what? Tsunade questioned. Hinata said that she is pregnant. Neji informed them. What? Kiba shouted. Tsunade sighed. They didn't tell me that. Everyone looks to Tsunade. I managed to discreetly scan their bodies to better understand their condition. I detected the early signs of pregnancy. Why you're saying that? Shizune trails off, not believing what she was hearing. Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari are pregnant. Tsunade declares, shocking everyone but Neji. This is why it's important we find them quickly before they give birth. Shikamaru, Choji, go to the Yamanaka home and check on Ino's parents. Kakashi, you and Sai do the same with Sakura's parents, the rest of you begin searching for them at once. With that command they are off. Shizune. Tsunade calls her aide's attention. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Shizune responds. Send a message to Suna. I want to have a meeting with the Cage to personally inform him of the situation. Tsunade tells Shizune. Yes, milady. Shizune says and exits the room. Tsunade sighs in exhaustion as she leans back in her chair. Jiraiya, where are you? Tsunade quietly says to herself before suddenly bolting out of her seat and blinks a couple of times. Why am I suddenly thinking about that pervert? The stress of the situation must be getting to me. Tsunade shivers at the thought of her teammate, unaware that as the moonlight hits her, her shadow is that of a fox. Meanwhile, Naruto and his vixens are already a great distance away from Konoha. Wow, it hasn't been that long since we left Konoha, but look how far we've gotten. Naruto says, amazed at the progress they've made. That's because our physical abilities have been greatly enhanced due to our transformations. Ino tells him. That's not all that's enhanced though. Naruto tells Ino as he stares at her body lustfully. Ino notices his gaze and smiles before walking closer to him and rubbing his with her left hand. Same to you. Ino replies with a flirtatious smirk. Naruto-kun, Ino-san, we need to search for our den first before we can indulge ourselves in pleasure. Hinata reminds them as she fondles her s, clearly turned on by the display, but she quickly gets herself under control. She's right, Ino-chan. Besides, the longer it takes us to find a den, the longer it will be that we have to delay our mating. Naruto reminds her. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Ino yells out enthusiastically as she hurries on ahead, the others following close behind. They continue their search until they came across a waterfall hidden deep in the forest. Hinata scans the area with her Byakugan and sees something behind the waterfall. Everyone stop. Hinata suddenly announces. The others stop and stare at her curiously. What is it, Hinata-chan? Naruto asks. I see something behind that waterfall. Hinata informs him. They look towards the waterfall but see nothing out of the ordinary. What about it? Naruto questions, not quite understanding. Looks just like any old waterfall to me. Ino added in. There's a chakra signature behind it. Hinata tells them. What? Was her companion's reply. Hinata approached the waterfall on all fours, and when she got close she rose to stand on two legs as she ran her hands through the waterfall, feeling the rock texture behind it. It appears to be a seal that only responds to a specific type of chakra. Hinata explains as the others approached her and started feeling the rock wall. As soon as Naruto's hand comes across the seal, the waterfall splits along with the rock wall, revealing a hidden tunnel. What the hell? Naruto yells out in surprise. A secret passage? Temari questions. And it responded to Naruto-kun, Ino says as she and the other vixens look at Naruto. Was it set to Naruto-kun? Sakura asked. Unlikely. The seal is designed to recognize a certain person's chakra, and this has also been incorporated with a bloodline seal. Hinata told them. A bloodline seal? Naruto asked her. It's a seal created to allow only a person with the same blood as them or direct relative to enter. Hinata finished explaining. They all got on all fours and walked inside. As soon as they were all inside the cave, the entrance closed behind them. We're trapped inside, Sakura says in a panic, but Naruto gently holds her hand. It's okay, Sakura-chan. We can see in the dark and it looks like the tunnel keeps going further in. Naruto reassures her, and like Naruto told her, her eyes quickly adjust to the darkness and she can see as clearly as day. As they venture further inside, they come across a large metal door with the same seal on it as on the entrance. Naruto steps forward and places his hand on the door. A clicking sound can be heard as the large door creaks open, and inside is a hidden paradise. The area is as large as the Chunin exam stadium, with fruit trees, rivers filled with fish, and some small animals running around. The entire area was illuminated from sunlight entering through tunnels in the roof. Naruto and his vixens were surprised at the find. As they stepped on the grass, they could feel the density of it. As they ventured further, they spotted a cottage underneath the shade of a large tree. They hurried to it and almost tore off the door as they rushed inside at once. The inside was nicely furnished with a stocked kitchen filled with canned foods. As they headed upstairs, they discovered 3 bedrooms and the master bedroom. When they entered the master bedroom, they were pleasantly surprised to see a king-sized bed that could fit all of them and a master bathroom attached to it. How did this even get here? Ino questioned. Naruto noticed a picture frame by the bedpost, and when he went to check it, he was shocked at who was in it. These are my parents, Naruto says, surprised, catching everyone's attention. In the picture is a blonde-haired man that looks like Naruto but with a different face, holding a red-headed woman close to him. They're both smiling, and the girls could instantly tell she was Naruto's mother since Naruto has her smile. Your mother is really beautiful, Naruto-kun, Sakura commented. Naruto simply nodded his head, a million thoughts running through his mind, but then stopped when Ino bends over the bed to get a better look at the picture, giving Naruto a perfect view of her plump. Seeing Ino's inviting rear in front of him, Naruto couldn't hold back any longer and crosses the distance between him and Ino. Ino suddenly feels Naruto on top of her, his hands positioned on either side of her, and she feels Naruto's rubbing her entrance before it plunges inside of her. Ino moans, feeling Naruto's poking the entrance of her womb. We've found our den, so let's make good use of it, Naruto whispers huskily in her ear as he begins pounding her, making Ino moan out in pleasure. The others look on for a moment before joining in. Meanwhile, back in the Leaf Village, Tsunade is looking at a photograph of herself with younger Naruto and Jiraiya. Naruto is in front of Tsunade, her hands placed on his shoulders, while she let Jiraiya place his arm around her shoulder after making him promise not to do anything perverted to her. She smiles fondly at the picture as she lightly traces the image of Jiraiya with her left finger. We look like a real family. I wonder if things had taken a different turn and Jiraiya and I got together, wow'd Naruto have been born to us? She thinks to herself, smiling. If somebody were to look at that photo, I bet they would think we were Naruto's parents, a voice suddenly states. Tsunade nearly jumps from her seat, caught completely off, manages to set the photo down on her desk before turning around in her seat to glare at Jiraiya, who's sitting on an open window. Baka, don't sneak up on me like that, Tsunade tells him angrily. Sorry Abu, that it wasn't my intention, honest, Jiraiya tells her while scratching the back of his head with his right hand. Where were you earlier? We have a situation on our hands, Tsunade demanded, clearly annoyed at her teammate. Jiraiya looks at her confused before Tsunade tells him what's going on. You're kidding, right? Jiraiya says, shocked at what Tsunade has just told him. I wish I was. She tells him, starts shifting comfortably in her seat. Somehow she's able to really smell Jiraiya clearly and his scent is driving her crazy. Maybe this has something to do with the nine-tailed fox. Jiraiya theorizes. It does make a lot of sense, but I need to fully analyze them to be certain. Tsunade tells him, still shifting comfortably. Jiraiya looks at Tsunade and notices that her cheeks are red. Tsunade, are you feeling alright? Of course I'm alright. Tsunade lasses out. Jiraiya suddenly picks up her scent and begins to lean closer. Damn, she smells really good. He thinks to himself. Jiraiya. Tsunade says his name questionably as she notices his face inching closer to both stare deep into each other's eyes and they begin to lean towards each other, but before their lips could meet there was a knock on the door making them back away instantly. Who is it? Tsunade stutters out, face red for what almost happened. It's me, Lady Tsunade. Shizune replies from the other side of the door. Jiraiya and Tsunade compose themselves before Tsunade tells Shizune to enter. Milady, we've received a reply from the cage. He's accepted your request and is on his way to the Leaf Village. Shizune informs her. Good. Thank you, Shizune. Tsunade says. There was another knock on the door. Tsunade tells them to enter and it's Kakashi, Sai, Shikimari and Choji. Lady Hokage, we've finished checking on Sakura's parents. They were lying in bed but not by their one accord. Kakashi informs her. Ino's parents were in a similar state, however we found them on a couch. Added Shikamaru. We've managed to awaken them and they informed us what had occurred. Apparently Naruto and Sakura visited them about their situation and fainted when Sakura told them she was pregnant. Sai explained. The same thing with Ino's parents, but Ino knocked them out when they attempted to stop them from leaving. Shikamaru finished explaining. Very good, you can all go join the search team for the time being. Tsunade orders. Yes, Mom. They all said in unison as they exited the room. Tsunade looks to Jiraiya. Jiraiya-kun, can you ask the toads if they can assist us in the search? She asks him. Sure, I'll wait. Did you just call me Jiraiya-kun? Jiraiya says, surprised. What about it? Tsunade responded, annoyed. She glares at Jiraiya, causing him to cower in fear. No, it's just that you never called me that before, so I was a little surprised. Jiraiya nervously responded. Tsunade crosses her arms and turns away from him. So you don't want me calling you that? What? No, it's that in fact I like it. Jiraiya tries to tell her. Tsunade turns to face Jiraiya, a small smile on her lips. And so you should. Now go already. Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari could have left the Land of Fire's territory by now. Jiraiya wasted no time and disappears in a puff of smoke. Tsunade sighs in exhaustion. Honestly, what am I going to do with that man? She asks herself with a serene smile on her lips which didn't go unnoticed. Lady Tsunade. Shizune thinks to herself, confused with her mentor's actions. Meanwhile, the cage along with his escorts Kankuro and Matsuri are making their way to Konoha. What do you suppose the Hokage wants to talk to you about? Kankuro asks his brother. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling it involves Temari and Naruto. Gaara answers him. Temari-san and Naruto-sama. Matsuri says, confused. That punk had better not do anything to Temari. Kankuro says angrily at the thought of his older sister being violated by the blonde knucklehead. I don't think Naruto would be the type of person to do something to Temari against her will. Gaara reassures him. Let's just hurry and asks Temari when we get there. Kankuro says as they continue forward they eventually reach the forest, and as they make their way through it Gaara notices two foxes in a hollowed-out tree sleeping together. Kankuro notices Gaara looking at something in the distance. What is it, Gaara? I just saw a pair of foxes. Gaara answers him. Foxes? Kankuro questions. Yes, it's very rare to see them in this area, much less two. Gaara says as he begins speeding up. Kankuro looks in the direction Gaara was looking at earlier, but it was too dark to see. Following morning, the trio arrived in the Leaf Village and are immediately escorted to the Hokages. Entering, they see Tsunade sitting in her chair with Jiraiya to her right, Shizune to her left, and numerous shinobi around the room. Tsunade stood up and bows in greeting. "Thank you for meeting me on such short notice, Lord Casecage." Tsunade greets her quests. Gaara, Kankuro and Matsuri bowed in response. Tsunade motions for the Casecage to take a seat. "Lady Hokage, what is this urgent matter that you wished to speak to me about?" Gaara asks, getting straight to the point. "And how come Temari's not here?" Kankuro added in. "What I'm about to tell you is going to be hard to believe, but yesterday Uzumaki, Naruto, Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Temari transformed into humanoid foxes and have left the village in search of a den." Tsunade tells them and gauges their reactions. As expected, that trio are in shock and disbelief. Kankura eventually voiced his disbelief. "What?" he shouted. "As of yet we don't fully know what caused their transformation, but Jiraiya-kun mentioned it had to do with the Kyuubi." Tsunade tells them. "The Kyuubi?" Gaara questions. "I believe the Kyuubi's animalistic nature has influenced Naruto and transformed him and the girls he's chosen as his mates into foxes." Jiraiya explains. "I've already sent out several of my most trusted shinobi to go search for them." Tsunade assures him. "Then I will also send out my most trusted shinobi to aid in the search." Gaara proposed. "Yes, this will be a SS class mission. We must find them before anyone else knows what's going on." Tsunade says. "Kankuro, Matsuri, go help the Leaf Shinobi in their search for the foxes." Gaara ordered. "Hi." They both agreed and disappeared. Gaara stares at Tsunade. "There's more, isn't there?" Gaara questioned the Hokage. "Yes, I've managed to discreetly scan the bodies of the girls and discovered that they are pregnant." Tsunade tells him. Gaara's eyes widen at the news. He then calmly stands up and heads towards the door. "Then I'd better join them to help improve our odds. I don't want my niece or nephew to be born in the woods." Gaara stated as he exits the room. "I'd better go too. The sooner I get started looking for them, the sooner we'll find them." Jiraiya tells Tsunade as he opens a window, but before he can step out he feels a tug at his left sleeve. He looks to see Tsunade looking at him with pleading eyes. "Please find our son Jiraiya-kun. I don't want him or his future family out there where I can't make sure they're safe." Tsunade tells him, almost begging. Jiraiya is surprised by Tsunade's tone but smiles gently and places his right hand on her cheek and caresses it. "Don't worry, I'll find them and bring them back home." With that said, he jumps out the window and across the rooftops. "Jiraiya-kun." Tsunade whispers his name.